what actually what was wrong? So you just gave up or what?
I haven't got a clue, but we went there one day and we didn't even recognise him.
No, I think you said that.
And then after that it was just a... Judy and I saw him on the Thursday and he was just comatose virtually, still a little bit with it. And then we saw him on the Sunday. We thought, I should just say we won't make it. I don't want it over again, Pam. Sorry, I'm not much fun. But Barry didn't want to be where he was. He only wanted to go in the first place. Rock Davis. Around other people, so she'll care. I haven't had mine yet, so you guys had yours.
Mum has. I've had two.
Mine's on the 6th of August. So. She's had the AstraZeneca. Yes, she had the AstraZeneca. She didn't have the Pfizer or whatever it's called. And she's really about another couple of weeks for her last one. He was told that he wanted to have some really bad headaches. That was good. That's the game. Get into it, man.
Yes.
Yeah, before we've always had that. We don't know what's in that. If it's going to kill you, so
That's the
what?
problem, yeah. There have been a lot of deaths, right?
I don't know their conditions.
Right.
You had polio?
Oh, yes, younger.
Never queried that. Measles. We all lined up at school.
Yeah, I remember. And I believe you've got the youngest
Good for you. Yeah, well, I think it's both.
Yes, yes, I've spoken to him.
On Sunday, check my nipple.
Oh,
Not really, just wanted to give me a hug.
I don't get it either because unless the numbers go down really low, we're not going to get that locked down.
I had to ring you for that reason, so you have to combine them both, sorry.
I like to wait. See people. They take it
Well,
as
it's
a
your
sign
as well.
Worse off, isn't it?
Checking my phone all the time. Yeah, but I thought I had Oh, no,
You got your check?
eh?
You got your check?
I got my checkbook.
I got your check.
Mine was good.
So they were winning.
Yeah, so I don't know if they want to put it there or front. We don't need a microphone, do we?
No, we don't.
How significant and appropriate was this start to our celebration for Barry today? And welcome to each and every one of you. And on behalf of the Davis and the Wadesons families, as well as all of Barry's friends, I wish to sincerely thank you for coming here today to participate in this gathering to honour Barry's memory. I believe Barry has quite a few friends that are live streaming today, and we would like to welcome you and make you feel that you are part of our day. It's a time where we all wish to give each other all the support and the love and the hugs and the touching that all grieving gives us. And I'm sorry that you cannot be here, but believe me, and I'm sure we all feel the love in your heart today, and we thank you so much. Friends, there's many wonderful memories of this wonderful man who enjoyed a chat, loved his Formula car racing, his aeroplanes, and one who had a hugely interesting life, that to celebrate Barry and his life is a very fitting tribute. We do, however, come here with mixed emotions, both mourning the loss of Barry and remembering the life that you have all shared with him. You've all come here to support each other as you pause to remember a very special man in your life. So today is really a time of coming together to say your final goodbyes to Barry and to remember what he meant to you personally. And I know that each of you have in some way played a part in Barry's life. So this celebration for Barry is for him, but it's also for each of you and you at home as we gather together to share this time with each other. Death in a number of ways unites us all, and Barry's death for a time demands that each one of us put aside our toil, our cares and our pleasures to unite ourselves with each one here who share in the common bond of love and friendship for Barry. It is at a time like this that we stop the onrush of life. We pause for a little while and reflect. And when we think about Barry's life, there is a lot to reflect upon. The way Barry lived his life, being such a likeable man who was kind and caring towards others, is a very clear message to pass on to you all, to live a fuller and more meaningful life of your own. And because you all loved and respected him, his passing causes us to get our own set of values into the true perspective. We know for certain that we never lose the people that we love, even to death. Barry's life leaves an indelible imprint in your hearts and in your memories. And we find comfort in knowing that our lives have been enriched by sharing Barry's life and his love. Friends, I've been invited to share a snippet of Barry's life, and Alan, I thank you for the honour, and Sue. Barry was born in Strathfield to Mary Ann and Frank Neil Ekins on the 30th of August 1939. His family was rounded off with his sisters Faye and Mary Ann. Sadly, Mary Ann died at birth, and Faye also passed at the age of 7. And to add the sadness, Barry's father Frank passed in 1954. Barry had lived at Fairlight in the family home at Welliama Avenue since 1946 until he became ill. He cared for his mother until her death in 1994. The later part of Barry's mother's life was confined to a wheelchair, and this placed a great strain on Barry's willpower. Barry thoroughly enjoyed the heritage of his family, the Ekins, Davies, McKinnons and McMasters. He had a special love for his Auntie Amy and Uncle George Fisher. Barry was educated at Balgowlah and Manly High Schools, and upon leaving school trained for and secured a position as a mechanical engineer. He also sold real estate and fitted superchargers to cars. He later went into a Volkswagen repair business with his good friend John Butcher. Truck and earth moving was undertaken with John Butcher and Vicky and Richard Cant as well. Barry always said that he wanted to be involved with farming and soil improvement, but this never happened. He did choose mechanics instead. Friends, I know that you would all agree that Barry has earned the love and the respect of not only his family, but all of those who surround him, and we know that Barry will be very sadly missed. I know that you've all got your own special memories of Barry, and I'd like to invite his cousin Alan to come and share his memories.
Thank you, Sylvia, for such an eloquent.
My pleasure.
It was very fitting for Barry what you said. I'm very grateful. I just want to apologise to Barry for what will follow from what I'm about to say, but it's from the heart and that's what counts. For the past 6 years, Sue and I have helped Barry with his paperwork. The last 15 months we've been responsible for his care. COVID and the onset of his advancing dementia, oh what a challenge. The issues that arose being dealt with, and always Barry's interest our aim. To deal with his dementia, you are never prepared. We found Barry lost most of his current memory. The past was still excellent. You'd find phone calls late at night. You'd be in bed, sound asleep, the phone would ring and say, "Hi, Barry Ekins here, waiting on the edge of the freeway, no money, no licence, car broken down, how long will you be?" Or another one, "Hi, Barry Ekins here, could you please ring for a takeaway? They haven't fed me for 3 days." With these calls you become innovative, possibly lie a little, but always in some way try to return Barry Barry's mind to the comfort zone of the past. You say, "Good night, Barry, catch up tomorrow," and hopefully some sleep. Thank you, the staff at Able Care. Thank you, all his friends who contacted or visited him. Pam, Megan, Dr. John Saunders, Judy, Barbara, Joy, Manon. Also thank you, Tony and Anne, and a special thanks to John and Shirley Butcher. All of you have contributed your time to Barry as a mark of your respect and love for him. I should have included a good friend, Terry, and I've left it off the list. I'm sorry, Terry. Remembering back, I was about 6, Barry about 13. Visited his home at Williama, saw his multiple aeroplane collections, a demonstration of how one of his toy engines ran. Oh, what a joy, cut short by complaints from Barry's mother and father. Too much noise. My next visit, I'm about 13, Barry about 19, at Fairlight, the thrill of sitting in Barry's Butte green Formula race car. I now realise why Barry was fascinated with speed and the engine for the rest of his life. Barry always visited our farm at Arimba, even from his early age. He and all our relatives have enjoyed coming to visit us. After Auntie Polly died, Barry always continued to enjoy his visits. We have enjoyed his company on every occasion. I married in 1998 and Barry was delighted. He had a new cousin-in-law who excelled in family history. Sue was able to assist Barry by her research in the history of the Rock Davis family. Rock Davis shipyard at Blackswall was one of the largest employers of the district, and he himself was the biggest boat builder of his era. Barry would love to recall that his mother, a daughter of Rock Davis too, she could remember and tell Barry of the community celebrations surrounding these boat launches. April 2020, Barry's failing health required his placement in care. Came to live at Waple Village, Killarney Vale. We would visit the care home twice a week, phone as often as we could. We were Barry's go-to for all his outside needs. We would sit with Barry for a couple of hours, thermos of black tea, nice meat pie, and Barry would entertain us with a memory of the past. He would talk about John and Shirley Butcher, Richard and Vicky Cant, their sons, Ray Kenny, the Lears, Alf and Bruce, Terry, Joy Larissy and Chris. John and his green Mac was constant, the thrill of working with the Cants, Vicky's hassle with his paperwork. Barry would explain to us about dodgy transmissions, faulty radiators. He would then talk about John Butcher and their repair business, which he said was a gold mine. John had the ability to repair anything, and Barry was so proud. I think the success of the business was that John did all the work and Barry did all the talking. These stories became repetitive, never bored us. We were spending time with our good mate, and this filled the blanks in his history from 1952 to the present. In our talks, we discussed many things. 3 disappointments come to mind. He had a property at Ramsay Street, Haberfield, one at Wydora Avenue, Freshwater, and he had to sell them both. He gave his beloved Formula car to a mechanic who sadly sold it for scrap. The failure to meet Mrs. Wright and not enjoy family or children. I personally could never understand why Barry never married. He was stunning looking and he had status. He would have been a perfect catch for Mrs. Wright. He would have been a brilliant husband and father. What a waste. Since 2000, Pam and Megan have shared his house. Barry continued with his visits to the farm, accompanied by Pam. Sadly, Barry's life ended on midnight the 11th of July. Sue and I enjoyed the pleasure of being with him that afternoon for some of his final hours. There are 3 items chosen by me on Barry's coffin. One, a photograph of his grandfather, Rock Davis, a copy of Barry's New Bible, a book by Gwen Dundon on the shipbuilders of the Central Coast, 2 spanners and a beanie, all of which have special meaning in Barry's memories. On behalf of my sister Elaine, my wife Sue and myself, Barry, enjoy your journey to the hereafter. It has been a pleasure to love and know you. Thanks for sharing your life with us. It's been one hell of a ride and a pleasure to be with you to the end. Thank you, and I'd just like to say, without my wife's diligence, expertise and her support, none of all of this would happen, and Barry thoroughly appreciated everything she did for her. Thank you.
Alan, there's a lifetime of memories there. It's the most difficult thing to do is to speak about someone that you love. And you certainly did Barry proud today. Well done. Friends, I'd like to now invite Barry's friend Terry Fuel to come and share some memories as well.
Is there 2 of us or?
No, you can.
We don't have enough.
No, that's
Okay.
fine. Whoever you wish to have, Barry.
Right. It's difficult to put 63 years into just a few minutes. I'll try and do my best. We met in...
Barry, excuse me. Sorry.
You can't hear me?
Terry, we have people live streaming, so it might be
Ah,
good to be
right.
in front of the microphone.
Sorry. Okay.
No, that's okay.
I met Barry in 1958 when I saw him down the road with his head under an MG sports car and a supercharger hanging off it. And I had an MG sports car too, but I had a knock in my engine, so I went down to see this great big tall skinny guy. I think he was 19 at the time. And I said, can you find the knock? So he did, he repaired it, it was a big end bearing, and we became friends. And we have stayed friends. Well, we had a few arguments, but we mainly stayed friends for 60 odd years, and we go to jazz clubs. He loved Ray Price, who was a band leader, and we both got a job on the Jazz Ferry, where we're sort of like bouncers keeping the peace, but really we were just having fun and dancing with the girls and drinking his way. Saturday nights, we'd be off to the Speedway, the old showground, getting covered in dust. Sundays, up to Windsor, to the Speedway. And then because you couldn't get a drink in the city in those days, we'd go to the pub and have a few drinks and then drive home. I always remember Barry, he took his racing car to a hill climb, and it was a very noisy, green-looking thing. And when he went off the line, the commentator was saying, Barry Ekins, he's flying, he's going to break the record. And over the microphones we heard scrunch. No, he didn't make it. He just gave her a little prang. After 5 years, I went back to England. I got married, and I didn't see Barry then for a couple of years, 3 years maybe. And one day, Valerie was about to have a baby. She said, I'm going to have a baby today. So I didn't go to work, and I happened to be going down this road. Barry Ekins was there. He hadn't told us, and he'd come to the flat that we were living in, and so we spent the afternoon drinking, and I got home at 2 o'clock and with Barry, and I got a right telling off, and I put Valerie in the car, I think it was, and she went and had a baby who's here today. I can't recognize anyone, ask Karen, and Barry became godfather to you. Barry went to London for about a year, I think, buying superchargers, and I lent him my ute for about a year, I think, to pick them up and send them off back to Australia. One weekend he came down to Bristol, and we went out for the night with friends, and we went to a pub called the Coronation Tap, where all they sold was farmhouse cider, very strong. Barry had 2.5 pints, and he was paralytic. But he had this girl with him. I don't know quite where she came from. And we were at a place called near the suspension bridge, which is 331 feet from the drop down. And Barry was out there, and he asked her to marry him, I think. Well, that's what he says. And she declined, and so he threatened to throw himself off the top of this bridge. He took one look over the edge, and he thought, maybe not today, you know. So we had a lot to do with him in England, and he returned home after a year, and we came back. By that time there was a wife and 2 children, came back to Australia. Barry was at the dockside in his car waiting for us on the docks. He had rented a house, he had bought a car for us, he had bought a fridge and stocked it full of food. What more could you want from a friend? I mean, that was absolutely fabulous, and it helped us so much to know we had someone there just to help us on our way. I'm leaving that bit out because I've got to cut things out. I can't talk too long. Another time, it was about 3 years ago, I think, and I was working on Barry's flats, and I'd taken out a window when we were going to get it repaired. So we went to this place to get it repaired, and they wanted $740, and I said, no, I can do it for $100. And but as we drove out, he drove over the curb, and he drove over round. He didn't go roundabouts. He drove over them, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I always do that in the truck." I said, "But you can't do it in an ordinary car." Anyway, it took us a long time to get home because he kept getting lost. And I think that was the start of when I noticed that he was sort of deteriorating a bit. You know, I don't know, was it 18 months ago when he had his collapse or so? And I didn't ring him at all when he was in nursing home, but I used to come up on my motorbike and sometimes in the car and to visit him. But it was really sad to see him there, and well, he passed away, didn't he? But if I could say one thing about Barry, he was very generous. He was very generous. I don't mean he gave me lots of money. I would have liked it, but he didn't. But he was very generous with other things, like, as I say, when we arrive back. So I don't know if there is a heaven and hell, but if there is, well, he's going to be in heaven. So if I can just finish with to say thank you to Pam and the girls who has given Barry given him the company that I think he needed. And I'd like to thank Alan and Sue for all that you have done for Barry. Thank you. Did I time it all right?
Very good. Thank you, Terry. A lifetime of friendship and many good stories. Thank you very much for sharing, Terry. As I said, you must all have your own special memories of Barry, so please allow this to be an opportunity to remind yourselves of the wonderful times that you've shared with him that puts a big smile in your heart.
You can dance every dance with the guy who gives you the eye, let him hold you tight. You can smile every smile for the man who held your hand in the pale moonlight. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, save the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine, like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun.
Yes, I know.
Laugh and sing.
Yes, I know.
But when we're apart, don't you give your heart to anyone. Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, save the last dance for me. Don't you know that love is so? Or can't you feel it when we touch? Well, I will never ever let you go. I love you oh so much. You can dance, go and carry on till the night is gone and it's time to go. If he asks, are you all alone and can he take you home? You must tell him no. Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, save the last dance for me. Don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, save the last dance for me. Save the last dance for me. Save the last dance for me.
Well, what a kaleidoscope of memories that is. And a handsome dude too. Friends, a verse has been chosen to share with you today, which depicts the love and the respect that you have for Barry. Could be the words that he would be saying to you. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow, I'm 1,000 winds on snow. I'm the sun on ripened grain, and I am the autumn rain. And when you awaken in the morning's hush, I'm the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds circled in flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. I am the song that will never end, and I am the love of family and friend. I'm the child that has come to rest in the arms of the Father who knows him best. And when you see the sunset fair, I am the scented evening air. I am the joy of tasks well done, and I'm the glow of the setting sun. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, and I do not sleep. Barry was a man who led a hugely interesting life. He loved to chat. Many stories could be shared, I'm sure. He worked hard and cared for his mum. He was a great fan of Formula motor car racing as well as model aeroplanes. But the one thing that came to the fore while I was chatting with Alan and Sue was Barry's love of family and family history. Friends, there is grief and hurt because you've lost this very special man. Please remember that that pain is there because Barry has touched your hearts, and for that you're privileged. Your own personal memories of Barry will have come to the surface more strongly because of his passing, and while these memories remain in your hearts, so Barry will be with you. The pain in your heart can be lightened just a little, knowing that Barry is now reunited with his mother and father and sisters, Faye and Marianne. To quote beautiful words said, a life that touches the hearts of others lives forever. Some people say the measure of a successful life is whether or not you can say at the end of it that I made a difference. There's certainly no doubt here. Barry Neil Ekins, and he made a huge difference. Friends, I invite all that are able, would you please stand for our farewell for Barry? Would you share with me in saying the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Friends, we've reached the time of our final farewell. I'm sorry, would you like to say something?
Would it be okay to say a few words?
Yes, it would. Okay, please be seated. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming here today to celebrate Barry's life. Barry was a very caring and kind-hearted gentleman. He was very family-orientated, generous, and would do anything for anybody. He would always be there for you and always willing to help you in any way he could. I really looked up to him. He had a good sense of humour and always had a story to tell. He was knowledgeable and enjoyed talking to people about his interests and his passions. He loved planes, trains and automobiles. He would spend time at Mascot watching the planes take off and land. His love of racing and his racing car gave him much joy. He loved travelling abroad and spending time out on his boat with friends. He loved pottering around in his garage for hours. His morning coffee was spent down at South Staines Surf Club watching the waves and people watching as well. The Skiff Club was one of his favourite hangouts. He would sit on the deck with a beer and watch the boats go by. Little Manly was also one of his favourite spots. He loved animals and his favourite dog was Sammy. I will hold on to these amazing memories we shared together. Even though I spent time abroad, I would always talk to him on the telephone and see how he is doing. I really cared about him a lot. Barry, we will miss you. Please rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing memories. Again, all that are able, would you please stand for our farewell? Only if you're able. Only if you're able. We've reached the time of our farewell for Barry, and tenderly and lovingly we commit the body of Barry Neil Ekins to nature's keeping. We give thanks for Barry's life, and we remember with gratitude Barry's deep love of family and of life itself. We're grateful for the life that has been lived and for all that Barry's life has meant to each of us. We're glad that we saw Barry smile and felt the love in his heart. We cherish the memory of Barry's words, his deeds, and his character. We cherish Barry's friendship, but most of all, his love. And Barry's memory will remain in each of your hearts and your hearts forever. Friends, I ask you please to leave our celebration for Barry today with happy hearts and happy memories, as Barry wouldn't want you to leave here with sadness today, just joy in his memory.